Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 106 of a year change. Today we're starting up a new week, but before we get started, I just want to sort of touch base about yesterday. Yesterday was really under the wire. I try to get one video up a day, at least. One video a day. I've done maybe twice where I've done two. But I try to get it done early in the morning, and so that it's up during the day and everything is fine. And yesterday I thought, I'll take a bit of a break and I won't do it till later in the afternoon. And then that just got postponed more and more and more. And then I went out and spent time. Did I go? Yes, I did. I went outside. Trying to think of what I did. And then by the time I actually got started, it was like 7, 8 o'clock. And I thought I still have plenty of time. Except nothing would render properly. So by the end of it, I ended up having to restart everything and not re-record, thankfully, but just had to sort of start from scratch and re-edit stuff and send stuff through, and I got it uploaded with like 10 minutes to spare in the day. That would have driven me nuts if I had missed a day. And even now, even though I put it up really late in the day, I know I'm going to be looking at it going, no, that's more than 8 days ago. And then it's probably not going to sit right until it says like a month ago or 2 months ago. And even then, it's going to just be off by a bit. It's going to drive me nuts. Plus, I messed up every single reference in there that I did. The Star Wars one, which I didn't think of it until after I stopped recording. As soon as I said goodbye and shut everything off, I went, wait, that's not right. So, apologies to everyone regarding that. But it's okay because the week is over. That is in the past. Everything's good. Everything's done. We are final. I did make some progress this week. I knew that the soul snacking thing was going to throw a wrench into it. But I lost a little over half a pound, which is not stagnant, but it's more than I thought I was actually going to lose. So things are good there. But as I said yesterday, back on track. Ever vigilant. Salutes and all the other good things. That's my salute. And so back on track, making sure that I'm eating properly, had a proper breakfast like I used to with the healthy cereal thing, and I'm going to have a proper lunch and then a proper supper or dinner, whatever you want to call it, and get back into what I was doing before, start making a little more progress. So, which brings me to today's topic. We have been doing exercise for quite some time now. You started out by just doing something while you're watching the video, and then you started expanding that out to a half hour, and then we cut out the video section, and you were just doing 1 day a week of half an hour, and then 2 days a week. And then a couple of weeks ago, we extended that to 3 days, and we haven't really done much since then. But here's why. You now have a rough idea as to the level of activity that you need to do before you start getting tired, or you break a sweat, or you get out of breath, things like that. Mainly, we've just been doing what should be classified as very mild exercise, for lack of a better term. Just moving. We're doing something more than we normally would have. So you probably haven't broken a sweat. You probably haven't really gotten out of breath and things like that. If you have, then bravo, because you're sort of going ahead of the class. But the main thing was to set aside that time so that we have that as part of our schedule. That every single week, you have 3 days where you can take half an hour and do something that way. So, again, something in my eye. Sorry. I'll just talk like this for the rest of it. Here we go. Don't know what it was. It's a bug or a flea or I got shot or something. So, I don't have fleas, by the way. That's not why I do this. So, we have that as part of our schedule. It's part of our regular routine now. So, 6 months down the road, we can't really say, well, you might be able to, but probably won't be able to just go, I don't have time. Well, you've had time for months at this stage. We've been doing this for a few weeks now. So what we need to do at this stage is to actually start making it mean something. And all that is actually we aren't going to extend the time. We talked about this before. I'm probably not going to really force you to invest a lot of time in this. This is something that you're going to need to do on your own. But we do need to, if I can sound all exercisey and workouty and stuff, we need to up the intensity of it. Now, again, very, very small baby steps. There are a number of activities that you can look up and say, okay, well, what's considered the next step above mild would just be moderate physical activity. And a lot of the stuff that you look on there, you just think, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. Like jogging for 5 miles. That's not moderate. Like unless you're being chased by a bear, you're not gonna jog for 5 miles, or rock climbing, or whatever it is that you're looking at. For people like us, that's not moderate. So I tried to find some different spots where you can see things that just are a little more relative to what we're doing. So that's what we're going to focus on. We aren't going to say, well, here's what you need to do. This is considered moderate. No, that's considered moderate for people that are in shape, that have been doing this for a while, maybe have like 20 pounds extra on them that they want to get rid of. Not people in our situation. So what we're going to be doing is throughout this, we're going to be keeping things very relative. What is moderate for you may be intense for me. What might be moderate for me is going to be, intense for someone else. It's different for everybody. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So over the past few weeks, we've... no, Ziggy. Sorry. Ruined it. Just checking if I wiped anything on my face. I'm good. Anyway, so over the past few weeks, you've been doing what is classified as mild. So we're going to sort of move that up one tier into moderate. And there are a few things that you can do that you probably have a rough idea now as to what you can do that will get you, in that state where it's classified as moderate activity. So, a few things that you need to keep in mind. This is not going to be something where, you're panting and you're aching and you hurt the next morning. That's not it. This is not going to be an intense workout. We aren't training for a decathlon or an Ironman competition. I was going to say triathlon, but it's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. Tri is 3, so that's Ironman. Decathlon would be 10. And pentathlon is 5. If they had 6, it would still be considered a sexathlon or something, but that sounds much, much, more fun, actually, than exercising. Anyway, stay on topic. So, these are a few things that you need to do to sort of look at, if this is happening, then chances are you're doing moderate activity. So, I'm just all over the place, and I'm coughing and drooling and spitting and wiping my nose and my eye, and probably should start over, but I'm not going to. All right, so I sort of keep going and trailing off and little things like that. I'm going to try to stay focused. It's okay. We will get through this. Trust me. Take my hand. We will get through this. So we aren't going to be getting to a point where you're panting at a breath. You're not going to hurt the next morning. This is all going to be stuff that some of you are probably already doing. But for some of us, it's just going to be something that we just need to sort of increase it to that level. So this is what I've been doing with my treadmill. Actually, when I first started out, I just was going for a little stroll, basically. And as things have been progressing and I've been getting more accustomed to it, I've been upping it every week. You probably have seen that. Or I started out with just, I think it was 1 kilometer. And then I've been upping that. So I'm doing 5 kilometers. Well, no, sorry. My math is off. I'm doing 1 hour. I'm actually going by time. I'm doing 1 hour right now at 4.5 kilometers an hour. And I've been upping the grade when I don't want to actually speed up and things like that. And so this week I'm going to probably increase the speed more than the incline. And then I'll do the incline, then the speed and stuff like that, and go from there. But it's because after a while, when I'm doing that, then I'm going for a stroll again. When I could never have started out at 4.5, and just, especially at the grade that I'm at now, I wouldn't have made it. So just making little changes like that, I want to keep myself at the level that I'm at right now. So getting back to what I was originally going to say, here are a few things to look for when you're doing your exercise and stuff. This is going to give you a good idea as to, you're in that sort of sweet spot where that moderate activity should be. Number 1, and we'll put things up on the screen too. Number 1, the talk test is sort of a short term for this. This is something that as you're doing this, you can still carry on a conversation. It won't be a relaxed conversation like this, but you'll still be able to talk. You won't be panting and puffing and everything else. You won't be able to sing, but you'll be able to carry on a conversation with someone. They may hear that you're, a little out of breath, but it won't get to a point where you just simply can't breathe. Your breathing is a little quicker, it might be a little deeper just because you're unaccustomed to it, but you can still talk back and forth throughout the entire half hour and carry on a regular conversation. So there's a good test. And that's really sort of the top one, the number one that I would look at. just because it's going to give you a really good idea as to what you can and can't do, whether it's if you're deciding to do like a weightlifting thing or if you're going to do cardiovascular, whatever that is. And not, I don't know what it is. That's what I do on the treadmill. I mean, whatever you decide to do. So that should be really the first thing that you look at and say, okay, this is going to give me an idea, just your breathing pace, things like that. Obviously, if you have something like asthma or emphysema, or if you have breathing difficulties, that might be a little difficult to try to tweak that way. But in general, it's a good guideline to look at. Number 2, after about 1/3 of the way through your activity, around 10-minute mark, 10, 15 minutes, that's when you should notice that you're breaking a sweat. You shouldn't break it within the first couple of minutes of doing it. It's just about, say, 10 minutes, 10, 15, say halfway through your half hour. That's when you're going to notice that you're going to start sweating. Now, a lot of us are no stranger to being sweaty. We deal with it all the time just because we're carrying around a lot of extra weight and there's hidden pockets and crevices and things. So it's nothing, that we're not accustomed to. However, this is going to be a bit different. You're going to sweat from places you didn't even know could sweat, like the underside of your arms or the palms of your hands or the soles of your feet. It comes out of everywhere. And all that means is that good enough, you're doing something right, you've gotten to a point where halfway through, your body's starting to overheat, and this is how it's going to start cooling down. Now, I'm lucky I have an air conditioner in the room where I have my treadmill, so I still turn that on. I'm still sweating because it just doesn't reach me in time. There's also a fan on the treadmill, so it doesn't mean that you have to just make yourself hot. If you have fans or air conditioning, whatever you have, and wherever you decide to do it, certainly use those. Keep yourself as cool as possible. But just combine that sweaty part with the talking part, that's going to give you a couple of ideas. Now, whether you've decided on what your activity is going to be or not, that's something entirely different. For me, it's walking. I can watch TV while I'm doing it. I enjoy it. I always feel better afterwards, and it's something I have complete control over. If need be, I can walk as I did Saturday, I can walk at 11 o'clock at night until midnight, and when I'm done that hour, I don't have to gauge where I am. I don't have to save for, energy for a walk back. If I needed to, or if I wanted to, I could walk until I'm just exhausted and then go, oh, I'm done, and immediately go to bed. And that's what I really, really love about it. So I'm sure eventually at some point I'll be going outside to walk, just for the variation in the terrain and things like that. But for right now, I'm very content with what I'm doing. So when I'm doing that, usually about 20 minutes in, that's when I start sweating, that I can think of anyway. And I just continue on for the next 40 minutes. So that's with the fan and the air conditioning and everything going all at the same time. So it's a good guideline. And on top of that, I can probably carry on a conversation. I wouldn't be able to sing anything because that requires a lot more control, and you're breathing deeply and belting stuff out and things like that. And you can get one out, and that's probably it. But those are the top 2 things to really look for. In the morning, like the next day, you shouldn't be sore afterwards. Unless if you're stuck in a wheelchair or if you're bedridden or something like that, you're going to have your own activity that you can do. You still use a treadmill if you're in a wheelchair. But it's because it's going to be upper body sort of thing. I don't know if that's safe. I don't know. If any of you are in a wheelchair and you're doing this and you have a treadmill, that would be interesting. Let me know how you actually do that. Because I would imagine that there would be some way of sort of stabilizing you, and then you just keep going to, actually you couldn't do that either, because then that would sort of defeat the purpose. But yeah, if you kept the speed up, you should be fine. Maybe it's just like a self-powered one. I don't know. Let me know. If any of you are out there, or if you know someone that does a lot of exercise, and they're in a wheelchair, let me know, because that's kind of interesting. Be nice to know. Anyway, if you're in a chair or if you're bedridden or something like that, you're going to have your own activity that's going to be doing the same thing. It still stands. Your breathing is going to increase. You're going to sweat. And so those are really the top 2. There are other things that you can probably look at to say, okay, well, what should I look for while I'm doing this? Am I going to see any progress? The progress will come no matter what. And what you're going to find is every couple of weeks you're going to want to, up it a little bit, because you're no longer sweating at the 15-minute mark. You're not breaking a sweat until you're almost done. Sorry. Which is still good, but at that stage, that's when we need to sort of tweak it again and go from there. So, and then eventually you'll get to a point where you're going to have a goal and say, this is where I want to get to. And then at that stage, then I'm going to change it somehow by, if you're doing walking, say, okay, well then at this stage, I'm going to stay on that same speed, but increase the incline. Or once I get to this incline, I'm not going to move from there and then just gradually go faster and faster and, cut my time down. For me, I want to do an hour when I'm walking. So my main goal is to get to 5 kilometers an hour for a full hour, and I'll say a 5% incline. Once everything, 5. There we go. Once everything is at 5, then that's my main goal. And then from there, I can start doing things like saying, okay, well, the last 5 minutes, I start jogging and get to a speed where I'm jogging. 5 kilometers is not still really fast enough for me to jog. You're looking at 6 or 7 at least before I start doing that, but it's a very brisk walk. So once I get to that stage, then I can say, okay, for the last 5 minutes of my run or of my walk, then I will jog. And then increase that to 10 minutes and then 15. So then eventually I'm doing 15 minutes of a walk, half hour jogging, 15 minutes cool down or whatever it is. So these things are going to change as we progress. But for right now, whatever you've decided to do, use those 2 main things as your guideline. Don't make yourself sore the next morning. There's no need of that right now. If you're starting to, if you decide later on down the road that you want to start like bodybuilding or something, then certainly knock yourself out. Do whatever you need to. But the main thing right now is to get to a point where we're doing something that's making a difference. And that's all this is. You have the time for it because you've been doing it for weeks. You know roughly at this stage what you prefer to do. So all you need to do is to find that middle ground where about halfway through, you're starting to sweat. And after the half hour, yes, you're going to be tired. There's no way of getting around that. There's no exercise you're going to do that you're going to say, well, I've exercised for half an hour, I'm sweaty, I'm out of breath, but I'm not tired at all. You're going to get tired. But this is where your willpower is going to start to come in, where we have to do it. Because obviously we can't stay the way that we are. And hopefully you're at a stage now where you don't still have that mindset of like it's exercise and it's horrible and it's boring and everything else. That you know what you enjoy doing. It's part of the routine that half an hour throughout the day at some point you're doing an activity that you know is beneficial. The only difference with this is that you're going to be a little bit more sweaty. Really, that's the end of it. I always feel better afterwards. Maybe not immediately afterwards, but after the treadmill and I de-stankify myself because you can't just sweat and then just go, I'm going to go to work now. So, but I find that throughout the day, it does make you feel better. I know this sounds really cliched, but there's a reason why cliches are a cliche. I find that I do have a little more energy throughout the day, and I don't know if that's from just that initial exercise that just sort of slows down and carries on throughout the day, or it might just be because I'm so used to piling in like 4 eggs and 6 pieces of toast and half a pound of bacon for every single meal and starting off first thing in the morning and then eating to capacity and always being logy. So it may be that. But I find that it does. It makes you feel a little bit better throughout the day. Just knowing that you've done it, just having that little bit of a boost, saying, I accomplished something today. And some of you that are already here at this stage, you've probably already reached that, where you've been doing it and you say that you had a full week, your very first week where you did all 3 days in a row. Or you know what I mean. Where you stuck to your schedule and maybe you did break a sweat. Maybe you were a little out of breath at the end of it. And there is that sense of accomplishment. And it's sort of like getting an achievement in a game that you think, I've done something that's a little outside my comfort zone, but I feel better and it is helping. Obviously, I mean, if you've gotten this far, you can see your progress, you know that it's helping. So what we're going to do at this stage is just sort of go, boop, bump it up a little bit more, and that progress is going to continue on. And every couple of weeks, we will tweak it again. Just keep in mind whatever you need to do to make those changes. If you get to a stage where you're not really out of breath anymore, or you're not breaking a sweat, then that's when it's time to say, okay, well, then I need to increase whatever I'm doing. And I know I keep going back to going for a walk because that's the only reference that I really have. But, if you're one of these people that you go outside, say that you walk your dog and say, you know what, I'm the person who walks the dog. 3 times a week, we go for a half-hour walk. Well, then, fine. If you have the time to do that, then if you're to a stage now where you think, okay, well, I'm not really breaking a sweat anymore, I'm doing the same, path, go on a different path. Something as small as that can make a big difference. If you say, well, we go up here, then we go over to the park, and then we go down there, and then we come across this road, then take a different route. And just because I don't want to really say muscle memory. I'm sort of hesitant to say that because it's not the same as like playing the piano or riding a bike or anything like that. Because those are equally difficult tasks to learn. God. Anyway, but your body is going to get used to it no matter what you're doing. So if you change it up a little bit, maybe it will make a difference. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll get easier. So it's just a matter of experimentation and trying to change little things that are going to increase it to a point where you can feel that it's making a difference, but not enough that you're just physically exhausted at the end of it. And that's why I really, really like the treadmill, because I have full control over an incline. I can, control the speed. There are settings on it as well that I can just sort of go random and just like boop, 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 up and down hills and things like that. That's how I run. I just go boop, 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 boop. But there's like speed tests and training for marathons and stuff, which I'm nowhere near doing. But I like that control, being able to say, okay, I know that I need to do something more, so we can either just increase it by a tiny bit, and I can measure it a lot more accurately. Telling me what I'm burning for calories is much, much easier that way as well. But it's a luxury that not a lot of you are going to have. So, and I understand that. So all you need to do is to tweak things as much as you can. And it is going to be a little more difficult because you're not going to have that really narrow focus of control that you would get with a machine. If you're part of a gym, then great, you can do the same thing there. But if you're doing something like going outside, walking your dog, or if you're, lifting weights, if you're in your chair, or if you're just trying to move, you're bedridden, whatever the situation is, it's going to be something that you're going to have a much better gauge as to how far you can go. And again, be honest with yourself. The same way that we have been with the tracking and, calories and exercise and the foods that we're eating, everything. That if you're going through and saying, oh, no, this is doing something, really be objective. Look at it and say, you know what? No, I know deep down that I can do more and get to a point. I'm still just barely breaking the surface of this. Because we do need to make some change. And this is going to be the biggest part of it, is starting up exercise like this. This was one of the larger hurdles that I had to overcome because it's just, you just never want to do it. No one ever just wants to go exercise. We're very willing to when it's just in our head and say, oh, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to run every day and I'm going to climb trees and bounce over rocks and do all sorts of stuff. And then you get home and you're like, ooh, cookies. And then we just forget about it. And that's, we've gotten to like really a good spot because you've already started. You're already doing exercise. So it's just a matter of making it so that we sweat a little earlier. Really, that's it. So keep an eye out on your sweat, I guess, to do it. We're used to it by now. It's just a matter of going, okay, now I'm sweating in different areas and it's not sweating because I'm fat. It's sweating because I'm doing something. So keep an eye out on that. Keep an eye on your breathing. If you can, every now and then, try to say, if you have someone that you can talk to at the same time, then certainly do it. Just to sort of gauge, say, okay, no, I can carry on a conversation. I'm a bit out of breath, but it's not enough that I'm just like, no, can't talk. And you won't be, as I said, you won't be able to sing, but that's for the intense stuff that we'll do way, way down the line. Like, I don't even know if we're going to do that during this series. Getting to a point where you're just like, go, and you're panting and you're out of breath and you can't breathe, you can't sing, you can't talk, and everything is burning and then you ache the next morning. I think that's probably for a better series, for a different series. I think for something like this, we need to stay practical. And we can all get to a point where we're doing something that's making us break into a sweat after about 10 or 15 minutes. We've all done stuff, most of us just walking up the stairs, or a really steep hill will do it for me, where I can talk, but I can't sing. Going up the hill every day does the exact same thing. So it's just a matter of, I made a lot of noise, I'm sorry, and hacking and coughing. It's and I just lost my train of thought instantly. Yes, going up the hill, can't talk, deep breath. Yes. So that is a very short period of time. The main thing is to sort of keep that activity level for 15 or 20 minutes and see if you're breaking a sweat. And then your breathing is all wonky. Very scientific way of putting it. So I'm going to put a couple of links down below. One is from the Center for Disease Control. I know it sounds weird, but they do a lot of health stuff as well. And one's from the Mayo Clinic. And they sort of go through a few different things saying, here's what is objectively classified as moderate exercise, and here's something that's relatively classified as moderate exercise. And it'll give you a better idea as to what to look for. It might give you some ideas to change things up, and whatever you're doing for your exercise, that it's going to show you, okay, well, here's what you could do to tweak it. You know, it might give you some ideas to just sort of get things moving that way. But that is the change for this week. I'd like to say to keep going for a couple of weeks, but it's going to be different for everyone. You might get to a stage where after the first week, you get used to it very, very quickly. Others of us are going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, where just maintaining that activity is consistently doing that. So it is going to be a little bit different. So I don't really have things mapped out yet as to when an exercise change is going to come. It might be, 2 weeks for one person. It might be 3 months down the road for another. I tend to do it every week just because I want to constantly up it, because I really, really, really want to stop being the way I am. So I may do one every couple of weeks or every week or whatever it is, just to sort of reiterate where we need to be, what different things that you can do, or maybe just start at this point where we've got it part of our schedule, just sort of offer some different alternatives of things that we can do that would classify, for some of us anyway, as moderate. And of course, for those of you out there that are slimmer than I, you're probably looking at these going, okay, well, I do that now, I do this now, I do that, and it doesn't do anything. You might need to sort of go beyond where we are and start out there. But overall, the sweaty thing and the talky thing, those are the main two things to look for this, which I've repeated myself many, many times. So, on that note, I'm going to leave this video here because I really have nothing more that I can say. So, apologies once again for all the horribly buggered up nerd references from yesterday. Part of that was obviously recording too late, getting it up too late, and putting it out there too late, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It sounded really weird when I said that. But hopefully we're going to be back on track, a little more focused now. There was that risk of sort of sliding back into complacency, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be mapping these out a little bit more detail day by day, and sort of keep myself going again, because I don't want to get to the stage where I'm like, I know what things are going to happen this week, things are going to be fine, because then I have a week where I lose half of it. So, for right now, thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.